So the crucial question that many people have been asking is, can the fiercely contested presidential election results be overturned? Well, according to all the great psephologists and election pundits, the opposition parties are attempting to do what has never been done before. Well, the second and third placed in that election, Atiku Abubakar of the PDP and Peter Obi of the Labour Party, are heading to court to challenge the results that saw Bola Tinubu of the APC declared the winner. Mr. Abubakar called the outcome a rape of democracy, and Peter Obi said his supporters had been robbed of victory. But what evidence do they have to show to prove their case? How long will it take to reach a verdict? Will it affect the inauguration? And could the opposition actually win their case? Well, to attempt to answer those questions, I'm joined now in the studio by the lawyer and former Director of Legal Services and Voter Education at the Electoral Commission, INEC, Osaze Uzzi Olowole. Thank you very much indeed for joining us.
Thank you, Charles.
Great to see you.
Good evening.
Tell us more about what they have to prove in court to get the results overturned or the election cancelled, because in previous elections, no presidential candidate has been able to prove that such irregularities substantially affected the outcome.
Yes, you've nailed it there, actually, Charles. For a petitioner to succeed, he not only must prove that the election was not in compliance with the statutory provisions, but also he has to prove that this non-compliance substantially affected the outcome of the elections. So far in Nigeria, nobody has been able to prove that. But, as we said, in Africa as a continent, we've seen a presidential election upturned in Kenya. We've also seen a presidential election upturned in Malawi. So there's a continental precedent for that. Having said that, we've also seen in Nigeria itself that for the first time a governorship election was upturned in the case of Peter Obi in Anambra. So Peter Obi, in a sense, is a child or a product of history. He succeeded in proving that the person that was returned as elected as governor of Anambra State, Emeka Ngige, was not actually the person who ought to have been returned. And by virtue of that, he was returned as the governor of Anambra State, and he took the oath of office and became governor.
That's a great history, brief history lesson.
There's always the first time, and there's always history to it.
Absolutely.
And in a sense, and on several occasions, Peter Obi of the Labour Party, now of the Labour Party, then of ABGA, proved that there's always historical precedence. And he also was impeached. Having been impeached, no governor had been impeached, and turned out that the Supreme Court or the court held that he was wrongly impeached and was restored as governor of a state. I know that Balarabe Musa in Kaduna State in 1983 or thereabouts was also impeached and then went to court, but he was never returned as being the governor, as being wrongly impeached. He did that. In 2007, 2008, INEC considered that a governorship election would hold a number of states. Peter Obi went to court to challenge that and said, look, I took my oath of office and have a term for 4 years, and it's wrong for you to declare that a governorship election will take place in a number of states. And also, he succeeded. So in one sense, Peter Obi, then of ABGA, now of Labour Party, has been a product of history.
That's a fascinating history lesson there. Now, of course, you've got, I mean, you tell us these things from an epistemological privilege, some people would say, because you were there at INEC. I mean, correct. You've got the inside track sort of knowledge yourself. Opposition parties this time around have accused INEC staff of colluding with the APC to manipulate results. Do you see that as possible or probable?
Oh, anything in history is possible. Was it probable? That's a higher threshold. Things were done. Things were done that were not in consonance with the law or with the regulations of INEC itself. Things were done. You have to concede that. Whether those things were such that could overturn an election is left to the courts. And it's good that several people, including Peter Obi and including the PDP candidate, have gone to court to challenge that. I don't honestly know what the courts will decide. No lawyers.
No, of course. But what we're trying to do is to get your legal advice and your legal assessment. A lot of people have been comparing results posted on the INEC portal with hard copies they took at their polling centers and are claiming lots of discrepancies. What are your thoughts on that?
I've seen a lot on social media, especially. I don't know how much some of those things will stand in terms of a tribunal or a court, how much they will stand under cross-examination. So it's difficult for me and it's wrong for me to try to assess
I totally
what
understand
the decision will be.
Okay, let me rephrase that this way. If non-compliance does not affect the result, is it likely to lead to the nullification of that result? In other words, if results from some certain areas are non-compliant, will a rerun in those areas be possible, or only if it will be material?
Now, there's a doctrine of substantial compliance with the provisions of the law. That has been tested severally in the Supreme Court. Recall that the same Atiku Abubakar who went to court to challenge the 2007 return of Haji Musa Yar'Adua, he actually went to court. On now, the interesting thing, there are several decisions of the Supreme Court on that matter. Part of it was that 4 justices of the Supreme Court, for example, on the issue of serialization of the ballot paper, the law as a then and as a now provides for the serialization of the ballot paper. 4 of the justices of the Supreme Court, including the Chief Justice of Nigeria as a then, held that the non-serialization did not substantially affect the outcome of the election, and there was substantial compliance with the law. 3 justices of the Supreme Court held no, we disagree. We don't think that's the correct position, and held that that affected it.
Right.
So, by virtue of a majority, 4-3, it was not unanimous, 4-3 held that no, we think that there was substantial compliance. I don't know what the Supreme Court of 2023 would hold. Neither you nor me, nobody knows. It will depend on the facts and on what is proven before the courts act this time.
Okay, well, that's fair enough.
Yes.
But I mean, I'm sure you have access to the INEC portal. I mean, it's public, and I expect you've probably gone in there. I mean, if you go in there, you'll see that the results, some of the results, have either been posted in the wrong states, are badly defaced, or are obviously altered. The question is whether those results have been altered to reduce votes of opposition candidates in certain areas and increase those of the winner. That would be a legal question in court, wouldn't it?
Certainly will be, Charles. It's difficult to say. We saw lots of things on social media. We saw lots of things on the rise. We saw lots of things on mainstream media. Now the issue is this. Those things, how many polling stations did they affect? Don't forget, there are 176,606 polling stations, polling units, where elections took place. I don't know, as I sit here before you in the studio this evening, I don't know how many were affected. It could be 10%, it could be 50%, I don't really know. It will now depend on what is proven in court.
Absolutely.
So nobody, absolutely no one can say with all degree of certainty how adversely this affected the overall outcome of the results. And that's why I say, let's be careful about this. We don't know what is. We don't know what will be proven in court. It's possible that the majority of polling units were affected by this. It's possible only a small, tiny percentage was affected by this. So it is now up to the justices who sit, for example, in the Court of Appeal, who sit as members of the Presidential Election Tribunal, say what is proven, what is not proven. I don't know what will be proven. Neither do you. Nobody knows what will be proven. So let us await the decision. First of all, what is and what will be proven in court as at that time.
Yeah.
We don't know.
That's a good point, and you've spoken like a true lawyer. But what about the incredibly low turnout of voters? I mean, the opposition have alleged that there was a deliberate policy to make it hard to vote, especially in their strongholds. I mean, 87 million people were eligible to vote, but just 27% actually cast their ballots. I mean, surely something appears to have gone amiss there.
Well, yes, it will appear so. But in this country, there is no mandatory or compulsory voting, unlike other jurisdictions.
Like Australia, for example.
So that is there. So I can choose not to vote. I would have wanted to vote, but I was registered in a place, I was on duty, I was at work on the day of election. So I'm sure you also shared the same challenge. I'm sure you probably would have had a preference and would have wanted to vote. But most of us in the media, a lot of security people, a lot of people who otherwise would have wanted to vote could not vote on that day due to exigencies beyond their control. So that's a very, very difficult thing to say. I don't know what would have happened if all those of us who wanted to vote could have voted. Maybe, just maybe, it could overturn the election results one way or the other. But we couldn't.
Yeah.
And that is a supposition. We don't know what would have happened.
Do you think that in any way, to a lesser or greater extent, the dynamics of this election has improved Nigeria's political trajectory? Because some have suggested that it has, because Tinubu, for instance, lost in Lagos, and the PDP lost its strongholds in the south to a third force party.
Well, there are lots of dynamics that came into play in this election. Surprising results, surprising to those who are not as analytical as probably they should be. In cases you've mentioned, Lagos, where Tinubu lost, people felt that Tinubu was in complete grasp and control of the electorate in Lagos State. Well, the election results have proven that that was not the case. In places like Plateau, in places like Benue, surprising results turned out. In Edo State, the sitting governor, who was of a particular party, that party came third. It did not win the presidential election. It did not get the majority of National Assembly seats. It came third, a distant third for that matter. So lots of things like that played out on the national scale. What do we make of that? I think in the essence, in the final result, surprising results turned up to play. So, yes, there were differences. But how did that affect things? How did that affect the poll itself? Is that an acknowledgement that probably this election was a little bit more, how do I put this now, reflective of the will of the people, or was it not? I don't know. We probably will have to be more analytical about this. We'll have to wait for the tribunals to sit and find out what is proving, what is not proving. There's lots of things on social media. Some of it I know are deliberately false, are mischievous. Some of it I don't know. Some of it are interesting to examine. But it's difficult for us to now say
at this stage,
until proven.
Osaze, Uzzi, Olowole, I mean, it's always a pleasure and enormously enlightening talking to you. Very measured responses on your part. Thank you very much indeed. And Osaze Uzzi Olowole is a lawyer and former Director of Legal Services and Voter Education at the Electoral Commission.